Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. The U.S. is preparing to execute a plan that will realize the distribution of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu relays an unequivocal message to Hamas: the rules are about to change. The Trump administration believes nuclear talks with Iran are going very well despite remaining gaps. Neither Israel nor Hamas will be involved in a looming plan to distribute aid to the residents of the Gaza Strip as the war rages on. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee announced this morning the distribution centers will be established and non-governmental organizations as well as governments will be tasked with distribution under heavy security of the IDF.
This effort will involve a notable amount of effort, and it is going to require the partnership not only of governments, but of NGOs, charitable organizations, nonprofits from around the world. There are several partners who have already agreed to be a part of the effort. We're not prepared to name them as of yet because some of the details of their participation are being worked out. I want to say the Israelis are going to be involved in providing necessary military security because it is a war zone. But they will not be involved in the distribution of the food or even in the bringing of the food into Gaza. Their role will remain on the perimeter as is necessary to make sure that those who are bringing the food in and who are distributing the food are kept safe and out of harm's way in the midst of a war zone.
Ambassador Huckabee went on to note that additional details related to the distribution of humanitarian aid to the non-combatant population of the Gaza Strip will be made public in the coming days. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the Tse'elim military base, where IDF troops are conducting separate exercises ahead of launching Jerusalem's directives vis-a-vis the Gaza Strip.
טוב, אני פה בבסיס צאלים, באתי לראות מקרוב את ההיערכות של החיילים שלנו, הגיבורים שלנו, לקראת הפעולה העצימה שאנחנו עומדים לעשות ברצועת עזה. אני ראיתי את התרגיל שלכם, עשיתם אותו מצוין. יש פה חיילי מילואים, מפקדי מילואים שהם עושים עבודה נהדרת. אנחנו נחושים להשיג שתי מטרות. אחד, להכריע את החמאס, לנצח את החמאס, לחסל את החמאס. והדבר השני, כמובן, במקביל, לשחרר את חטופינו. אנחנו מציינים היום את יום השנה ה-53 של שחרור, מבצע שחרור חטופים במטוס סבנה. הייתי שם, נפצעתי שם, והרוח לא השתנתה. זה בדיוק אותה הרוח שאני רואה פה, רוח שמפעמת בין החיילים והמפקדים, ומאחדת את השורות במטרה אחת, להשיג ניצחון גדול. והניצחון הזה כולל גם את הכרעת החמאס וגם את שחרור חטופינו, והניצחון הזה הולך מעבר לזה, זה מקרין על כל האזור.
Prime Minister Netanyahu continued by relaying an unequivocal message to the Islamist Hamas terrorist organization.
ולחמאס אני אומר דבר אחד, הכללים בקרוב מאוד עומדים להשתנות. לזכותכם.
The Israeli leader further asserted that many challenges remain in the road ahead.
עד היום שינינו את פני המזרח התיכון. אנחנו הבאנו את חיזבאללה לברכיים, חמאס מתחת לברכיים. פגענו גם, משטר אסד נפל, ואיראן גם הרגישה את נחת זרוענו. יש לנו עוד אתגרים, אבל יש לנו רוח חזקה, והרוח הזו מושגת על ידי הצבא שלנו שמורכב גם מסדיר וגם ממילואימניקים.
Ahead of expected nuclear talks between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran in Oman over the weekend, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance addressed the Trump administration's position with regard to the Ayatollah regime's nuclear aspirations, asserting that there are only two options which President Donald Trump is willing to consider.
And we have to think about this not just in terms of Iran, which, again, the president has said this. We think that there is a deal here that would reintegrate Iran into the global economy, that would be really good for the Iranian people, but would result in the complete cessation of any chance that they could get a nuclear weapon. And that's what we're negotiating towards. And as the president has said, that's option A. And option B, if option A is very good for the Iranian people and even some of the folks, the leadership in Iran, option B is very bad. It's very bad for everybody, and it's not what we want, but it's better than option C, which is Iran getting a nuclear weapon. That is what is completely off the table for the American administration. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, there are a couple of other things that are worth thinking about, because this is not just about Iran. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, which country then next gets a nuclear weapon? And then when that country gets a nuclear weapon, which country after that? We really care, not just about Iran, but about nuclear proliferation. And
the vice president, who spoke to the Munich Security Conference in Washington on Wednesday, went on to note that from the administration's perspective, the talks with Iran are going well.
And we really think that if the Iran domino falls, you're going to see nuclear proliferation all over the Middle East. That's very bad for us, it's very bad for our friends, and it's something that we don't think can happen. So, without prejudging the negotiations, I will say so far so good. We've been very happy by how the Iranians have responded to some of the points that we've made. We've been very happy that some of the intermediaries and some of the folks who are in the room, the role that they've played, the Omanis in particular, have played a very positive role, and we're very grateful to that. So far, we're on the right pathway, but this is going to end somewhere.
Despite separate statements in which President Donald Trump voiced unequivocally that Iran could not have an enrichment program, which would, in essence, pave Tehran's way to a nuclear weapon sooner or later, the American leader responded to a question related to this matter yesterday, during the course of which he noted that he had yet to decide on the matter.
Is it the U.S. position that Iran can have an enrichment program as long as it doesn't reach a weapons?
We haven't made that decision yet. We will, but we haven't made that decision yet.
Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues to assert that Israel stands prepared to defend against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which continues to level daily threats against Israel.
יש לנו אתגרים גדולים, גם איראן, אתגר עצום, אנחנו לא שוכחים את זה לרגע, אבל כוחנו במותנינו, ואנחנו נגן על עצמנו בכוחות עצמנו.
It is important to know that Iran remains obstinately defiant of any leniency towards demands presented by the United States, despite sporadic claims to the contrary. Therefore, in a desperate bid to dissuade the United States from launching an attack against Iran's nuclear infrastructure in the event the diplomacy breaks down, the Ayatollah regime is threatening any country from which an attack would emanate against it.
هر نقطه‌ای در هر سرزمینی مبدأ تهاجم بشه، اون نقطه برای ما مقصد تهاجم خواهد بود و هر نقطه دیگری که منفعت دشمن ما در اون قرار داشته باشه را مورد هدف و اصابت قرار می‌دیم.
It is important to highlight that according to two Western intelligence sources who spoke to TV7 on condition of anonymity, both China and Russia are actively assisting Iran in a sophisticated disinformation campaign against the United States and the E3, which includes France, Britain, and Germany. Separately, according to a number of reports, Iran pressed its proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, to reach a temporary truce with the United States by halting its attacks against maritime shipping and the strategic Strait of Bab el-Mandeb and adjacent waterways. The Houthis obliged, yet ensured they had the so-called last word by firing towards the USS Harry Truman after Trump's announcement.
نفذت القوات البحرية وسلاح الجو المسير في القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية عسكرية نوعية استهدفت حاملة الطائرات الأمريكية ترومان وعددا من القطع الحربية التابعة لها شمالي البحر الأحمر، وذلك بصاروخ باليستي وعدد من الطائرات المسيرة.
The Houthi terrorists continued by pledging that irrespective of their arrangement with the United States, they would continue to attack the state of Israel.
As you know, we had a very good outcome with the Houthis, and we honor their word. I mean, they made a commitment, and we dealt with other countries that were close to them and their surrogates and we honor all of their words. We'll see what happens, but I think, I believe that hopefully that's over with, and they'll leave the ships alone,
Meanwhile, earlier today, a ballistic missile was launched from Yemen towards Israeli territory. Consequently, rocket alert sirens sounded throughout central Israel. The IDF spokesperson's unit subsequently noted that the Israel Air Force successfully intercepted the incoming projectile. Thankfully, no injuries or damage were reported. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to urge you to take a moment to pray for the hostages who've endured 581 days in Hamas captivity. Pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Separately, if you've been blessed by the contents of TV7 Israel, which is exclusively backed by our viewers, please consider supporting our productions. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom u'Mevurach, and God willing, we'll see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.